Hey guys, and welcome to a bonus episode of the India Gill Podcast. So I didn't start off with any kind of intention to do bonus episodes, but it takes me back thinking about why I'm doing it because I felt called to do it. I wanted to share something with you, which keeps coming up in my work the last few years. Do you know, some clients stay with me. This is not a therapy podcast, I hasten to add, but some client stories stay with me because, you know, the work is deep and we have some major breakthroughs. And it takes me back to when I've been on other people's podcasts and they ask me, India, what was your motivation for starting a podcast? Excuse me, I'm just recovering from a cold. And I don't really have an answer. So I've thought about it and I thought, okay, I'm 60. I've had a plethora of diverse experiences. I have a lot of, hopefully, wisdom or experiences to recount and share that people can learn from, that can help them to take shortcuts in their own lives as opposed to doing it the long and the hard way around like I have. And I thought, what's my actual motivation? And I still haven't come up with a proper answer. And I was speaking to a vice principal at a school that I set up. It's a trust. I set up a counselling provision for the trust. And he listened to my first episode and he said to me, India, I think your story is your mission. That's your message. And I was like, yeah, maybe. But maybe it's a sharing of the learnings that my clients and I have had, you know, the breakthroughs that they've had during our work together. And I just don't know the reason at the moment for why I'm doing this podcast. I felt called to do it. I left a job after 25 years. Oh, gosh, about 5 years ago. And I just made the decision. I thought, it's time. It's a no-brainer for me. And everyone said, oh, my God, it must be so hard. It must have been such a tough decision. It wasn't. I just felt called to do it. I was sat on the bench at my mum's one morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, having a cup of coffee, and that was it. I was like, yeah, I'm doing this. It was such an easy decision. It was the best decision for me at that time. So yeah, what would have been a really tough decision for many was not for me. And it's the same thing with this podcast. I just feel it's time. So I'm rambling now. I don't think that's what bonus episodes are supposed to be for. What I'm going to share with you is a story, very heavily anonymized, for the sake of confidentiality, about this wonderful, accomplished, but blocked in certain respects client that I worked with a good few years ago. And the story has stayed with me. So this client was from New Zealand. I've used different countries as well to anonymize it. It's from New Zealand and was very accomplished in the line of work that they were in. When she came to me, she had just left a job. 2-3 weeks into our work together, she shared that she was now looking for another job to replace this current one. And I remember saying, oh, but you've only just started here. Like, you know, what's going on? And she said, oh, they promised me this at the interview about these would be my working hours. I wouldn't be working all these weekends. And now as it transpires, I'm working virtually every weekend. And that doesn't sit well with me because she had a child who she had shared custody of. And so I said, okay, so why do you not think it might be an idea to speak to them about this and say, hey, you said this and now this is happening. It doesn't suit me, as opposed to just leaving. She looked at me as if I'd proposed something totally ridiculous or, oh, wow, what a thing to actually contemplate. So taking in this reaction, and I said, when we started work together, you had just, left a job. And why was that? transpired this person was being bullied at that job and just decided to leave. So I said, did you not think to address it in any formal fashion? No. Didn't even occur to her. So I said, okay, so I'm not going to be directive, but I'm just going to offer you something that you explore the possibility of, maybe discussing this with your employer and just bringing the incongruence of what was promised and what's actually in place to their attention and maybe see what happens. You have nothing to lose at this point. Cut to a few weeks later, she came to session. She had done what we had explored. And guess what? She was like very surprised to learn that they were quite accommodating and said, oh yeah, no, that's fine. Apologized. And I think they were actually just pushing, to see how much they could get away with potentially. I don't know. And then said, oh, would you be able to work? We would require you to work. And would you be able to work one weekend in the 4? Yeah, absolutely. So, her childcare could be taken care of, etc. With all of that. My hair is absolutely all over the place. Excuse me. So I got really curious and I said, why is it, I wonder, because I'm really curious, that you don't feel that you can speak up for yourself? And this woman is an expert in her field. She's in the scientific field, an expert in her field, top of her game, but never used her voice to ask for her needs to be met. And so I was really curious about where this pattern was born, what was going on. Again, we unpacked it over a number of sessions. And this is the learning that we came to. When my client was a child, single digits, living in New Zealand, she was in the household with her siblings and with a parent who was in the throes of substance misuse. So when my client was scared or had, wanted to be comforted and said a parent was chaotic, a child, as it naturally would run to this parent, cling onto their legs in the kitchen. I remember the scene so vividly, like she was explaining it to me yesterday. And the said parent would push them away because the child was crying and saying, if you don't blah, 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 stop crying, I'll give you something to cry about. So what my client learnt in child brain was to use my voice. It's not safe. In fact, it's dangerous. So what she used to do is to hide away in the corner of the kitchen or go off and sit on the stairs and just be quiet, hide, make herself invisible almost. Now, this coping strategy, which did keep her safe in childhood potentially, became ingrained in her subconscious because this was a pattern running through childhood. And now as an adult, it's become maladaptive. It's no longer serving her, but it's running the show because, 90% of our life is run by our subconscious minds, not by the conscious, which is quite a scary thought, but that's for another time. So we talked about this, and that was where she had learned that to use her voice was not safe. Then coming back into the present moment, we realized and we unpacked and got curious around the fact that she's this independent, kick-ass scientist. She's made a life now in a foreign country. She has this wonderful child. She's navigated her split from her partner, like in a very healthy way, and is safe now, is capable of meeting her own needs, keeping herself safe, and that it's now safe to use her voice to get her needs met. I'm going to offer you something that you get your journal, because I'm a great advocate for journaling, or a piece of paper, and write down if there's anything in your life that you're doing which no longer serves you. Okay. Bonus episode over, and until we meet again, lead with love. My hair is like a freaking right mess. Lead with love approach with curiosity, with a view to understand, because amazing things can happen when we do that. Believe me.